Welcome to Photoshop User TV, brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And now, here are your hosts, the Photoshop guys.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Photoshop User TV. I couldn't think of a word.
I was going to say, we didn't think of a word.
Brought to you by the National Association of Photoshop Professionals, the fine people that bring you Photoshop User Magazine, and Corey Barker holding it up.
Yes, the whole package.
So,
I arrive at your house holding the magazine. No,
yes. You get that magazine 10 times a year, access to the members' website, discounts, all kinds of crazy stuff when you join the NAPPPP. So,
Many P's.
Many P's. So we would ask you that if you're not a NAP member, if you just check out photoshopuser.com, we'd love for you to become a NAP member because they are the people that sponsor the show for us. Anyway, folks, my name is Matt Kliskowski, and I'm joined here today by Mr. Corey Barker.
Hello, good to see you.
And over there in the in Corey Barker's land of 3D is Pete Collins.
I'm feeling 3D-ish over here. Yes.
Are you? Cool.
You're feeling it, huh?
I'm feeling it.
The vibe is strong. Yes.
And we have a very, very special guest today. So this is a friend of Corey's. So you can see him over there in the corner, Aaron Blaze. So welcome,
hey,
Aaron.
How you doing? It's nice to be back.
So yeah, apparently you were on the show once before, but I wasn't here when you were on the show. So this is the first time I've gotten a chance to meet him.
Yeah, it was nice to be here. I had a great time last time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And,
he blew a little more drawing today.
Yeah, absolutely. And he blew a lot of people away last time. Which is why I definitely wanted to get him back on the show this time, of course. And not to mention he's going to be at Photoshop World in Orlando.
Yeah,
doing a lot of the very
brand new Photoshop World instructor.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so can you tell us a little bit about, just for people that didn't see the last show, because you kind of do some really cool stuff. Which,
yeah,
by the way, I'm sorry to cut you off. Doesn't he have the coolest last name? I would kill for the last name of Blaze. Can you, Matt Blaze? Instead, I get stuck with Kliskowski.
The marketing alone is.
I so want your last name, but you're actually much more than your last name. You do a lot of cool stuff too.
Yeah, so today I'm just gonna show how to do some basic sketching in Photoshop, and real simple.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, what do you do for a living?
I've directed animated films. I've been a supervising animator. I've been a character designer. I've been everything to do with animation. I've had.
And small films you've all might have not heard of.
I think he's holding back on us. So
I was
can you name some of these films?
I was at Disney for 21 years, where I worked on Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, Pocahontas, Mulan.
Never heard of any of them.
Never heard of any of them.
No. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming on again.
Sure.
All right, so before we get started, we do have a quick kind of a deal. So Peach Pit has been doing a lot of ebooks.
Yeah.
And so they have a deal, limited time offer, 40% off of plugins with On1 software by Nicole Young. The ebook price is $31.99, and with the Kelby TV price, it's $19.99. $19.19, sorry. And just use the coupon code KelbyTV. All right, and that's a great book by Nicole too, by the way. If you're into On1 plugins, which you should be, it's got a lot of great stuff in it.
And she's all over. She's on our help desk as well.
Oh yeah, she's one of the help desk. So if you're a NAP member, which one of the benefits is the help desk, the 24-hour help desk where you email in, you get your answer back within 24 hours. One of the people that would send you those answers is Nicole.
Very cool.
All right. Juan is telling me I'm looking at the wrong place. We have a TV in front of us. I always want to look at the TV and not the right place. Anyway,
it's compelling to watch ourselves.
So I got a very, very quick tutorial for you here. This is something that happened to me on my last trip, or one of my recent trips to Monument Valley, and I've seen it happen to quite a few people out there. Which is, when you're shooting landscapes, one of the filters that we always carry with us is a circular polarizer. And you ever put polarizing sunglasses on?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And you ever turn your head and you can kind of the sky changes as you turn your head.
There,
So it's the same thing. It deepens the colors in the sky and colors around you, but it also removes glare. So if you're ever looking at a tree out in the bright sunlight and you turn your head with polarizing sunglasses, you'll see that glare go away. It's the same concept here. So I want to show you two things. So here is the non-polarized version, and I want to zoom in. I'm going to zoom into one of the mountains in the background here. All right, so this is the non-polarized version, and that's the polarized version. Okay, so you can see non and polarized version. See the glare? See the glare? It's almost like a white haziness that's
Especially
over
on that right rock there.
Yeah. Exactly, right here.
Yep.
Yeah, you can see it there, and you can also see it over here. This is it's called the totem out in Monument Valley, but you can see it right here too. That's the polarized version. That's the non-polarized version. So again, you kind of see that hazy white that gets on there. So we put the polarizer on to help avoid that. What's the problem when you use a polarizer on a wide-angle lens? See the sky? Because it's a wide-angle lens and polarizers work on the direction of the sun. So the problem with that is when you have a wide-angle lens your polarizer is really affecting this area over here, but it starts to fade in these two areas. So the answer to that would be to take two different versions, a polarized version, non-polarized version, overlay them inside of Photoshop, and then go on your top layer here. So I'll put the non-polarized version on top. And I'm just going to take my, my quick selection tool. I'm just going to add a selection right over the top here.
You love that tool, don't you?
I do. And when you have a selection active in Photoshop and you click that layer mask button here at the bottom of the layers panel, whatever's selected stays. So think of it that way. If I have a selection, whatever selected stays. So the sky stays, but I'm able to keep, and I'll hold down the Shift key and click on the mask, you can see. I'm able to keep the better foreground. It just looks more vibrant. It loses that glare. It loses a lot of different things, and it just has a little bit more color in the polarized version. So I'm able to get the good sky, and I'm able to keep the good foreground. And I think I messed up the selection a little bit right over here. But you could just go with your brush tool and paint it in on those areas, just like that, and get that polarized version.
It's wizardry.
Back into it. So if you're out there, if you're shooting landscapes, outdoors, whatever it happens to be, if you're shooting with a wide-angle lens, you can put your polarizer on. It will reduce that glare. It'll give you a little color boost. Just keep in mind, it'll do weird things to the sky if you're shooting with a wide-angle lens. So keep your camera on a tripod. Shoot two photos, one with, one without.
I love the landscape stuff.
Okay, Mr. Corey Barker's next.
Is it my turn?
It isn't.
No,
What do you got?
I actually have a cool video trick here in Photoshop. You know, video's been, like 3D, is slowly evolving in Photoshop. And there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do now. Many things you can do that you would only need stuff like After Effects for. But one of the things I've been toying around with a lot lately is these things called cinemagraphs, where you've got
they're cool.
a photo, and there's one small aspect of it that has movement or something like that. So this is just a kind of a quick tip on how you can take advantage of many of the features in Photoshop to make it a really enhanced cinemagraph. In this image here, this actually isn't an image, this is a movie. And I'm going to open up the timeline here. And you can see if I take my cursor or the playhead here and just drag it through, you can see there's cars on the bridge and there's, you know, activity on the water, anything like that. It even goes into nighttime. It's this time-lapse video. What I want to do is isolate the road on the bridge so I can just see the cars moving and then everything else is static. So I'm actually going to go back to the very first frame before I see that boat, you know, see the boat going under there and everything. I don't want to have any of that in there. You actually can see it a little bit between the bridge, but that's no big deal. So I'm just going to do a Command-A to select all, and I'm going to press Command-J. Now what that's going to do is copy that frame to a new layer. You'll notice it created a new image. It's not the movie, it is a still version of that frame. Now I'm going to drag this out of that video group here in the Layers panel, so it's at the very top. And then add a layer mask. Now, I'm going to use my pen tool. Let me zoom in here. Don't play. I'm just going to draw a path over the area of the street. I'm just going to click and drag and just kind of bend the path here. Oh, the movie's moving around. Okay.
Now, one of the reasons why you're wanting to use the pen tool, you could do it with like a paintbrush or something like that, but the pen tool gives you those nice crisp lines.
Very crisp.
You've got a nice straight bridge. It's a no-brainer to use that.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm ultimately going to soften this a little bit, but I'm just able to control, you know, the selection as I go. So I'm going to actually make this an active selection, and then fill that selection with black. Oh. Why not? It's not letting me do it. You know why? Here's a little gotcha with video. It's not in frame. There it is. So it was actually at the end of the timeline here. So let's bring that over here and drag it out so it fills the entire area there.
Now, does that usually happen when you copy?
When you drag it out of this video group, when you drag it out of that video group, it's going to put it at the tail end of your whatever your track is. So that's just one of those little gotchas right there.
Well, see, and what I've done, when I've done time lapse or whatever, oftentimes you want to finish up the movie with like that still frame, so it doesn't. And that's a great way to just give you that last frame that freezes, so that then you could finish out your music or whatever without everything
Absolutely,
playing.
okay.
So it's a good tip to know if you just make a copy. That's a great way to get that last little clip to freeze and finish off your movie like that.
I like it. So I've got this mask out now. If I drag the playhead now, notice we just see the cars moving, and nothing else in the background is moving. And it's even going to travel into the nighttime with the lights coming on the bridge. And everything like that. Now, here's an issue. The bridge right here at the base, that wouldn't look right. So let's actually go and paint that area of the mask away.
That's what's cool about video too, is you use the same tools.
Yeah, absolutely.
Video
You're pretty
and
much,
Photoshop.
you can do almost everything you can do to a static image, you can do to a video clip. So I've masked out that little part of the bridge there, so when it goes in the night, it just kind of keeps that.
So if you know
original color
layers in
there.
Photoshop,
Yeah, absolutely.
you already know how to do stuff.
So you can have a lot of fun with this. So if I just play this through normal, you can just see it's kind of got that weird vibe about it. But me being me, I thought, why stop there? So
Are you?
I'm never me.
Sometimes we wonder.
Are you sure you're you?
I'm never me. So I'm going to make a duplicate of the entire file and flatten it. Let's just do layer flatten image. And I'm going to give this kind of a more crisp, I call it almost a cinematic look, and it's basically using HDR toning. I think it's misnamed. It should be called like the Grungify filter or something. I don't know. But using HDR toning, I'm just going to boost up some detail to build up the contrast. And we'll just play with the edge glow and strength here. I've got smooth edges checked on just to smooth that out a little bit. Notice it's punching out that detail and enhancing color in there. And let's bring the exposure up just a little bit. That looks pretty good. So that I'm going to take and drag back over here. And then, now I added the shift key when I drag that over. I want these layers to stay lined up. It's going to play through video, so I need them layers to be perfectly aligned. But now I want to use this instead of this one down here as my masked image. So I'm actually going to, instead of redoing that selection, here's a cool trick. Hold down your Option key on Mac, Alt on Windows, grab that layer mask and drag it to the target layer. Automatically puts that layer mask on the new layer. And we'll just expand out this track and go back to the beginning, play it through. And there we can see, taking a rather soft video file, making it look more photographic, and now we've got that movement in there. Look, it's
Well, and that gives, I'm looking at it thinking, man, you could do stuff with the water. You could choose a different part of the nighttime for the sky.
Almost certainly.
There's so many things you could do with
Here's
that,
something you can do just immediately. Just select on that layer mask, press Command or Control I, and it inverts the mask. Now the movement is in the background, and all the cars on the bridge are staying still.
That's pretty
So
cool.
basically, you frozen time on the bridge. You can freeze time around the bridge or freeze time on the bridge just by inverting that mask. So, I mean, again, it's just a few tricks you can have a lot of fun with playing with video here inside Photoshop. Because like Matt mentioned, all the Photoshop tools are available to you. So you can have every bit as much fun with video as you can with a static image. So,
And and that's the thing. People say, well, isn't a cinematograph just like a time lapse or something? And it's not.
No.
Because the key to a good cinematograph is that something that should be moving is still.
Yeah.
And something else is moving in the photo. Something's always, you got to have something moving in the photo, but the key to a good cinematograph is something that should be moving is still, and that's what makes you look at it like,
yeah, so
it kind of looks like video, but something's up here. There's something that's wrong with it.
And I've done it both ways. I've played with making videographs or cinemagraphs from video files and then adding movement to a static photo. There's really two ways you can approach it. I'm actually going to be doing this very thing at Photoshop World as well. So.
Sweet.
Now, how would you save that file out as a?
Now, if I'm going to be posting it as a looping cinematograph, then you'd have to output it, go to Save for Web, and do an output as a GIF file. It's the only ones that'll actually loop right now.
I hate that.
Or you can do it as a Flash video and have it looping as well. I mean, there's a couple of options there. But if you're just doing an
photo,
output,
you know what it is? We got to find a better way because photos look so bad as GIFs.
yeah, I mean, even at the highest possible settings for GIFs, it still's got that little dot pattern. It just lowers the quality, but it will give you that looping movement in there. So, but it's a lot of fun just playing around with video in there. So.
Awesome. Hey, guys, we're going to take a very quick break, and we will be right back here in just about a minute with Aaron. See ya. Aaron.
I can't wait to do this again.
Hey, we are back. Photoshop User TV and Pete Collins. And Pete, how you doing? Look at him waving crazy back there.
He was too happy back there.
All right. Hey, so
I've been
do we do a quick? Who's up? Because I know something changed.
It's going to come to me while Aaron is setting
We're going to go ahead and go to Pete.
Aaron's setting up. All right.
Aaron's gathering his magic.
What you got?
We are a finely oiled machine here. All right, well, I'm going to share with you something that I've shared over on the NAP site, but it's one of those hidden gotchas that if you don't know that you can do this, it can be really frustrating. But once you figure it out, you're going to go, that makes sense. And it comes down to layer styles. If we look at my computer, here I've done this. I started working on trying to create some neon stuff, and this was kind of where I started. And then, of course, my pad just went out on me. All right, come on back there. There we go.
My prank worked.
All right. Nice try. Okay, so I've created this neon tube here, and what I want to do is create a smaller version of this. And right now you can see all these are is just a creation of layer styles. And so now I make a copy by just hitting Command or Control J, and I've got another one. Now if I drag it down, looks pretty good. But I want to make it a smaller version of this. So I hit Command T or Control T for a Mac or a PC. Now if I shrink this down, look at what's happening to my layer style. It's changing on me. Well, I want it that size, but I want it to look like the other one. Well, here's a couple things you need to pay attention to. As I'm scaling it down, if you look up here in the top options bar, you can see it's showing your width and your height, and I've scaled it to 71 point something % for both the width and the height. I can remember that, and so when I hit return, that's going to come in handy. Or I can just, once I do the changes, I can kind of eyeball it. What you're going to need to do is come over to your effects panel over here and simply right click, and down at the bottom of your options is scale effects. If you click on that, now you have this panel that pops up, and you can scale it either the amount that you knew. I paid attention, so it was 71.5, something like that, and I hit OK. Oh, it doesn't like my 0.5, so we'll go 72. And now it looks fairly similar.
Just smaller, but it
just smaller, but it's kept the same ratio. If I undo that, I could also, let's say if you're like me, you forget to pay attention to how much you adjusted it. I just simply come over here, and with the word scale, I just drag my slider, and I keep dragging, making sure that the preview's on.
He does keep
Of course,
dragging.
it's not showing me the preview, but I get it to where I like it, and then I just go, oh, that looks pretty good, and hit OK. So if you ever find yourself working on a project and you need to reduce something that you've applied layer styles to and it just looks funky, don't forget that you can go over, right-click in your layers panel under effects and scale the effect to match whatever size you've made the next one. And that's going to save you from, as I said on the NAP website, getting out the lighter fluid and setting your computer on fire because it's not acting right. That's a little tip. It's hidden in there, but once you know it's there, it's going to save you a lot of work.
Small explosives are much more effective.
And one of the things, if we pull up my computer really quick, just to kind of jump onto the end of Pete's tip, is if you go under the layer style menu, you're going to see an option there called global light too. That's another one that I always find kind of trips people up because a lot of your layer styles have lighting effects, and that light comes from a certain angle. Well, if you change one angle in one and one angle in another, you get all these.
And I see the reason for it. You want the light to be consistent.
Yeah, so if you turn
all your effects, but at the same time, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, so you can turn global light on, so as you move things, one effect changes the drop shadow, another effect will change with it too.
But you can also, sometimes you want to do something a little bit different, say in one specific effect, and each one of these, if you go over and click into the effects, you'll see, let's say I want to go to inner shadow, you see use global light, you can click that on or off. So you have the control in a couple places, but yes, that global light, because I want to change something here and it changes everything else. As long as I've got that global light on, it's going to change the look of everything else.
Cool.
Spectacular.
All right. We have been waiting long enough. It is time for Aaron. Aaron, I'm anxious for this.
So I just want to do something kind of simple today. One of the things I like to do, I have this little sketching technique. I like to do stuff in Photoshop because it's so forgiving. And, but I like to create images that look like I've done them right out of my sketchbook. And so one of the things I've done is I've gone online and I've downloaded a lot of free images that are textured backgrounds. One of them here, I've got like a textured cardboard, papery, kind of organic kind of feeling background. And then what I like to do is use 3 values. The first value being gray. I set the whole thing up to be a gray image. And then I draw in black and then later on in white. And I just want to show you kind of some of the results that you can get with it. I use a lot of reference when I do my drawings. And I've traveled all over the world. I do a lot of animal art and that sort of thing. And so I just pulled up one of my images that I shot the last time I was in Africa of a lioness. And I thought I'd kind of use that as reference and do a sketch from that.
Cool.
So, first of all, I've talked about this before, and if you go to my blog, aaronblazeart.blogspot.com, I love the new graphite pencils that you have in CS6. I think they're fantastic, and they work great over this cardboard because it feels like it looks like a real drawing or 2D looking thing. So what I usually do is I'll set my opacity down a little bit. And just very roughly start to sketch. And I'm paying a lot of attention to anatomy and just keeping things as accurate as I can. I do a lot of comparing on the photograph as far as where things fall so I can get accurate. And I'm going to just keep drawing so you guys can see what I'm doing, because I have a horrible time drawing and talking at the same time.
Well, I was just going to ask, so you've traveled a lot to places where these animals are and actually photographed them in their environment, right?
Yes, I have, exactly. And so what I do here...
Yeah, you look like you have a horrible time with this one.
Yeah, I think
right now it is infinitely better than mine ever would be. But.
Well, and I think one of the things that I hopefully, Aaron, you would agree, sometimes choosing that background just helps set the mood and kind of gets you into the right frame of mind sketching. It's like I need the right background to get started sometimes.
Yep. Well, it's like you say, it feels more organic. You actually feel like you're drawing on a textured paper or like a newsprint or something like that.
And then with these pencil brushes, it looks like
you're just using graphite.
It looks like it looks like I'm doing a sketch. And when we get in here in a little bit here in the next couple minutes, because I'm going to try to keep this short. So I'm drawing on command here. And the other thing too, especially in something like this, I'm really thinking about flow. And this is, so I've got here, I've got the backbone of the cat coming down, and there's a twist, and that gives it a nice little feel there. And I look at silhouette. I'm always paying attention to silhouette.
Oh, you really messed up that line right there. That's horrible.
And so what I like to do now is I'll knock the opacity down of this layer, throw another layer on top, and then I can go in and I can refine a little bit, and I can hit some darks and lights. I'm going to knock the size of the brush down a little. And once again, still keeping it fairly loose, but I can get a little more accurate now. And I can start throwing in some darks and indications of fur, that sort of thing. And
Happy little fur.
Yes.
And it's like you say, how forgiving Photoshop is. I mean, you can keep these elements separate on layers,
Yep, exactly. And I try to keep all my layers separate. When I go to my lights, which I'm going to do next in just a second, I make sure that they're on their own layer so that if I mess up, I'm not going to be erasing any of the drawing that I have underneath.
That's one of the problems I run into once I switch back over and start sketching in a sketchbook. I keep wanting my undos and my layers.
Well, I try to keep this as traditional as I can, with the exception of working in layers. I love that feel, and And it's just, it gives a great effect, like I said.
Now, do you find yourself wishing you had this technology years ago when you started at Disney?
Oh yeah, of course. Holy cow. I mean, it's amazing.
I mean, are most animators today using Cintiqs?
Yes,
Is that pretty standard?
everyone I know is. So now what I've done is I've opened up, I've broadened the pencil a bit, and I'm going to just start laying in some darks. Now keep in mind, remember, I'm thinking about the gray as the midtone. And so, and the basic color of the lioness, if you think about translating that into gray, she's basically gray with the exception of some highlights that I'm going to throw in. So what I'm really just looking at doing is adding shadow to where there should be shadow. And the light source is coming off from the left side of the image. So I'll just roughly sketch this in. Keep in mind too, because I'm doing this in such a quick amount of time, it might be a little rougher, but you know, when you refine.
Dude, you don't have to.
Yeah, I can see how rough it is.
You can refine.
It's still so vague, I don't know what it is yet.
It's a picture of Matt.
We can get in here and I can, that's what I love about these brushes is that they're so organic feeling. And I just absolutely love it for, you know, especially when I'm creating, I do a lot of traditional painting also in oil.
Now, do you create your own tips with the erodible tips, or do you just?
I do, yeah, because I like to get them down to a certain shape,
right.
and then I save it, and I harden it up, and you know, on the adjustments.
Similar to Ray of Reality, you'll rub down chalk or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew you'd like these new tips.
Oh, I love them. So here I'm just laying in a little bit more shadow here. Now the fun part is I can go in with add a new layer, and now I'm going to just jump to white. And I'm going to knock this tip down to a smaller size. And I can start and I'm putting this on top. I can start picking out where I want some of these fur textures to catch light. And really start to define the form of what it is that we're looking at. So just knowing that, and I can lightly indicate, you know, some of these wrinkles in the fur of the cat.
Hey, Aaron, you know what we're gonna do? Because I want people to see more of this.
Yeah.
We're gonna take a break. We're gonna let you keep working.
Okay.
And we'll take
Great.
our quick break, and when we come right back. So guys, we're just stay tuned. We get to watch the whole thing. We'll record it.
I'm just over here watching.
If you saw us a minute ago, we're all sitting here like.
Yeah.
Like that.
So let's take a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll pick back up.
All right, cool.
All right, everybody go gather around.
Let's put pressure on them.
Hi everybody, Scott Kelby here, and I want to tell you about a brand new member benefit for members of the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. We just call it NAP for short. So at NAP we have literally thousands of training tutorials. That's what we do, we teach Photoshop, right? But the tutorials that we've had have always been kind of short, sweet, down and dirty, quick. But now we are announcing full, in-depth online training classes. That's right, taught by some of the best instructors in the world. Now here's the thing too, if you're a beginner, this is so for you because the focus of our first round of classes was really on the beginner, on leading you step by step to where you become advanced. And we'll be adding new classes all the time. Now, the coolest thing about all this is we didn't raise the price. In fact, we've never raised the price. NAP still is just $99, back like it was years and years ago, but it includes a full subscription to Photoshop User Magazine, the digital version or print, your choice, and these brand new full-length online training courses. So I hope you'll check this out at photoshopuser.com. It's where people go to get really good at Photoshop.
We back.
We're back. All right.
We're supposed to talk and not watch. So you got prizes, Corey?
I do. Got prizes.
Here, let's check in with Aaron really quick.
Yeah. So
I'm cranking away. Cranking away. So what I've done now is I'm starting to lay in some of these light areas, and now you can start to see form. And what's really cool is that I can, I'm going to throw a layer. I can put it on top, behind, whatever. But I'm going to jump in here and just real quickly start to lay in bit of a background. I'm going to knock that opacity up a little bit so it's a little more
depth there.
And more contrast.
And so now that gray of the background that we've laid in now becomes part of the lioness.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to avoid the chin because the chin's white, but I know there's a shadow behind it. So I can just kind of do this sort of thing. Now we got a very organic kind of feeling to this.
And if you haven't played with the erodible tips, you can see just,
I love
it looks just like he's using chalk, pastel, graphite. They've really done a phenomenal job with these tips.
They really have.
And he's not doing anything crazy. He's not doing extra Photoshop wizardry or whatever.
No.
He's just pulling this stuff
Honestly,
out.
if you think about it, this is very basic Photoshop because he's just using layers.
It's
and
very basic.
Super
simple
simple
brushes.
Photoshop, but it's such a great tool.
And an additional tip to that, speaking of tips, when you have a Wacom tablet, you actually have those different nibs that you can swap out that actually give you a textured feel. So if you really want that to feel that organic nature, not just see it, but you can actually feel it by changing those tips in there. So there's a lot of huge advantages there.
Well, and being able to add opacity, but also pressure and how it responds, you can basically program that tip to react how you draw.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So what do we do? Let's do some
Prize-
contest
you
real
got
quick. All right,
prizes?
we'll be right back with Aaron in just a moment. We're going to let him plug away because he seems like he's having way too much fun. So we're going to let him keep going. But we have prizes, of course, for this episode. So first we have here Perfect Layers 2 over here
From On1 Software.
from On1 Software.
Awesome plugins.
Oh, yeah.
I
There we
use
go
them
right
myself.
Make sure I don't get any glare on there. Also, we have Storytellers, a photographer's guide to developing themes and creating stories with pictures by Jared Foster right here.
And how do we win such prizes?
We win such prizes by going to kelbytv.com/contest. That's right, isn't it? Contest, yes. And you will go in there, enter your name and all that information, and leave us a comment, a question, a quote, a joke. We don't care. Just say something.
Something good, though.
Something good.
If you say bad stuff,
But
you don't win.
again, winners are picked at random, so just by all means, and just, give us questions, requests, anything you'd like to see on the show. We'd love to hear those, and we certainly read those. So cool. Be sure to check in on that. So.
And we mentioned earlier that Aaron will be one of the brand new instructors at Photoshop World.
Absolutely.
So if you are going to Photoshop World, you will see him there. And if you're not going to Photoshop World and you want to see him there, then get your butt over to Orlando in April and come on out and see us.
All right,
So let's check back in.
One last
over
check-in
here.
before we take off here.
So here you go. So in a matter of 15 minutes or so, we've done a really quick sketch using just black and white with a toned background. For you traditional artists out there, this is a great tool to work up comps for big oil paintings, which is what I do. And if you want to put together a really quick sketchbook, and you want to do it digitally, I'm doing lots of images like this that I plan on putting together in a book, along with traditional drawings also.
Again, you mentioned your site. What was that site again?
It's aaronblazeart.blogspot.com.
Okay, and we'll certainly have that link on the page here.
I
But
have
you
a
definitely
lot
want
of
to
tutorials on there.
Oh, do you really? Cool.
He's got tutorials and breakdowns, everything like that. And you recently just finished a painting that you posted on there of this hippopotamus.
Yeah, it was a commission that I picked up. There's a guy in California that wanted me to do a painting of a hippopotamus, and the first thing I did was I did a digital painting of it first to work out all my issues, which is it's a great way
to his site and check that out. It's a phenomenal painting. Both the
I
digital
now have a
and
new
traditional.
person that I hate. And Aaron,
Out of so many.
you have struck like that is like my photography is like what I do now, but drawing is something that I've just always had this thing for, and
for me,
a huge appreciation for.
Drawing is still the basis of all of this, and so I still emphasize with any students I talk to, draw. No matter how many tricks you know, it's always good to have a good base in drawing.
There's only one way to get good at it, and that is keep doing it, right?
You don't get to the major leagues without playing a lot of baseball.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing with drawing and painting.
Cool.
It definitely is a perishable skill. So even if you drew last month, you need to draw today to,
absolutely.
to keep those chops up.
Perishables, good word, Pete.
That is our word.
All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in this week on Photoshop User TV. On behalf of thanks, Aaron, for coming by once again.
Thank you.
indeed.
Thanks for having me.
Pete,
Absolutely.
thanks, Corey.
All right.
Thanks
We
to
will
all
see
our
you next
sponsors.
time.
We will see you again next time.